I will do that with the support of some slides, where the starting point is a slight change in the title, so creating a zero emissions energy system, which is not only about the integration of renewable energies. I will come to the point and have a lot of emphasis on that, because I think integrating renewable energies into existing system is not the end of the story. We will have to go much further. What can be told as a success story is the development in Germany. Not so much for the primary or the final energy as a whole, but for the electricity. You may have seen many of those slides with a very strong increase of renewable electricity production to levels that for a long time, going back 15 or 20 years, were considered as completely impossible. And the current state shows, and we have seen the technical solutions for that as well, it is feasible, and further increases will be very much supported by what is shown on that picture here. The levelized cost of electricity on the left-hand side for the renewables, on the right-hand side for the fossils, is by today, even in a country like Germany, where the circumstances for wind are okay and for sun could be better, are at the same level as the levelized costs of electricity generation in the fossil world. And this picture still takes into account high full load hours for the electricity production from the fossils, and that will change even more over time. Consequence of that is the left-hand side, the yellow and the blue areas will go further down, the right-hand side will go further up, and already for economic reasons, it is much better to go further down into higher and higher shares of renewable electricity. For the time being, at least in Germany and most other European countries, that still looks fine also for the system adequacy, for the resource availability, for the capacity in order to produce electricity in those times where demand is high. But the further development will further increase the renewable shares, and therefore additional tasks will have to be solved. Final point, the way forward goes far beyond the integration of renewable energy, because the picture of the future may look like that. That is one of our own models showing a situation in 2050 with a very high increase in renewable electricity production capacity and very low levels of the contributions of any other energy carriers. It's a greenhouse gas reduction scenario by 95%, and that is what is necessary for reaching the Paris goals of maximum 2 or possibly only 1.5 temperature increase compared to pre-industrial times. So what we can see is there will be times of the year where there is a high load and low injection of renewable electricity, and vice versa, leading to the main indicator for the electricity situation, which is not the load or peak load or base load anymore, it's the residual load, where we have the original load, detract the renewable production and find curves like these.
Thank you very much.
So that splits up into a deficit area on the top, where we need other generation facilities, and into a surplus area on the bottom, where the word surplus has to be taken with some care. It is not coming for free. It's not just a byproduct of decarbonization. It's an additional installation of renewable electricity production generation capacities that we need in order to decarbonize other consumption sectors, namely heat, building, and mobility as well. So that is needed, but in order to manage these steep gradients, we need at least more flexibility on the demand and on the generation side, and we need a lot of integration of other stakeholders. So when it comes to decentralization, it's not only about the production technologies, it's also about the market participants that have to support the poor TSOs that cannot solve that problem alone. So fluctuating renewable production will be the fundament and will challenge the whole system, and will not be something that needs to be integrated, but we have to build a new system architecture around the renewable electricity production. And that leads us to the wider areas how energy transition can be defined and can become a success. Because it's not only a technology and it's not only an economic changeover, it's very much also a societal and a political issue. And for the current situation in Germany, there is a lot of consent in the society that energy transition is a very good way forward, but there are some doubts about equality issues. So high capex investments into renewable electricity production may be considered as something for the rich, and the poor only have to pay the higher costs. So acceptance for the energy transition can be limited by that. So we have to find also new business models, new acceptance and more participation of wider areas. And that is something where we focused in a grid edge business model paper where different business models are designed in order to integrate wider areas of the market and of the stakeholders. Together with that, there is a long list of research questions and research projects that are interesting, where we're working on, and the first point is natural gas, where renewable gases are a part of the solution, but nonetheless, fossil natural gas can be a bridge into a defossilized future, but at the long run, with a view to 2050, fossil natural gas cannot be part of a solution anymore. What does that mean for the infrastructure and for the market participants? What could be new and changed business models for them? The next point is energy demand needs to be analyzed much more in detail. The flexibility needs have been pointed out already, and we are working on decentralized models where for every county and for every hour of the year, a demand projection, a demand forecast can be carried out, and that is a valuable basis for flexibility made available for the market. I will jump directly to the penultimate point, which is the energy infrastructures. We all know that a large expansion of the electricity grids is needed, but is that all? Is it heading towards an all-electric world? Or do we need at least one additional infrastructure that could be hydrogen, that could still be carbon-based but defossilized, so with power to methane? So what are adequate infrastructure in the framework of the energy transition? Finally, the grid edge paper that I already mentioned, and asked what would be a winning combination for solving the problem. My clear answer, my clear statement is it's the combination of interdisciplinary research and education that we carry out on the basis of the Wirtschaftsingenieurwesen, that nice German combination for industrial engineering and management, and also on the basis of MBA, in order to, what you see in the headline here, is the claim of Technical University of Berlin, to gain the brains for the future, because we have to go through the brains, make people work, contribute, accept and participate, of course, in the society with the citizens and the customers, but most and foremost with the experts. Thank you for your attention.